A comparison and contrast between John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn and Edward Albee's The Zoo Story on the topic of the importance of personal relations. What is existentialism? According to Stefan Bollea, existentialism is a form of philosophy that is a recuperation and a transgression of nihilism, is an understanding of philosophy that reminds us of the Socratic meaning, focuses on the individual, has an extended temporal validity even though it belongs to a post-war zeitgeist. It can be seen as ambiguous and irrational as it is a form of transrationalism. Existentialism is a branch of philosophy which tackles the problem of human existence. Emphasis is placed on the lived experience of thinking, feeling, acting of the individual. Of primary importance is the existential angst, or the complicated feelings of dread, disorientation, confusion, or anxiety that all of us experience throughout life. Existentialist thinkers highlight issues that have to do with the meaning, purpose, and value of human life. Existentialism focuses on the individual's struggle to find meaning in their life. Soren Kierkegaard is believed to have been the first existentialist philosopher, as he underscored the importance of each individual coming up with a sense on meaning in their life and passionately living by its rules while staying true to authenticity. Existentialism has influenced many other branches of knowledge, such as theology, drama, art, literature, and psychology. Influential figures of existentialism: Soren Kierkegaard, Friedrich Nietzsche, Jean-Paul Sartre. The importance of personal relations in John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn and Edward Albee's The Zoo Story. Ways in which John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn and Edward Albee's The Zoo Story are related to the topic. Both pieces of literature have at their core personal relations. The first shows the personal relations of a man to a woman whom he tries to convince to have sex with him. The second shows a very lonely man trying to force relations with another man and explaining to that man his attempts at fostering relations with other men, women, or animals. Thesis statement: a comparison and contrast between John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn and Edward Albee's The Zoo Story on the topic, the importance of personal relations. Supportive idea 1. Whilst in John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn, there is a man trying to persuade a woman to have sex with him, Edward Albee's The Zoo Story involves a stranger, Jerry, trying to force another man, Peter, into a discussion with him. John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn involves a man and a woman, whilst Edward Albee's The Zoo Story involves two men. John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn is practically a monologue of a man towards the object of his desire, the woman, who does not speak at all. Conversely, Edward Albee's The Zoo Story includes a dialogue between Peter and Jerry, forcefully initiated by Jerry. All of these are instances pointing towards the importance of personal relations. Supportive idea 2. In John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn, a man makes sexual advances on a woman, whilst in Edward Albee's The Zoo Story it is the other way around. A woman, and a disgusting one too, makes sexual advances on Jerry. Here, a paradox is seen. Despite the fact that Jerry longs for human relations, when another human being wants to establish deep relations with him, he pushes her away and manipulates his way out of a relationship with her by means of lying. John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn is about a man experiencing sexual loneliness who wants to come into sexual contact with the woman, object of his desires. Conversely, Edward Albee's The Zoo Story is about human loneliness and detachment in big cities, and the desperate attempts of a man for some companionship, friendship, and affection, regardless where it comes from man, woman, dog, etc. Once more, these are instances which relate to the topic of personal relations. Supportive idea 3. In John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn, there is a flea which acts as a metaphor for sexual union between the man and the woman, which by extension points to the importance of personal relations. In Edward Albee's The Zoo Story, the dog could be said to be an embodiment of Jerry's loneliness. At the same time, it is a character in and of itself which Jerry tries to befriend. He shows patience towards it and suffers its ferocity in the hopes that he will make a friend out of the dog. After his attempt at killing the dog, they reach a neutral level of interaction. Jerry could be said to be acting like the dog did to him towards Peter, as he, in the end, always demands more bench space from Peter and ends up taking out a knife and threatening Peter before ultimately stabbing himself, and all of this in an attempt to establish personal relations with another human being. Jerry feels the need to force a relation with Peter, driven out of a need for human contact and relations. Conclusion. The importance of personal relations is evident in both John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn and Edward Albee's The Zoo Story, as both pieces of literature deal with the human need for contact and relations with another being. In John Keats' Ode on a Grecian Urn, this mostly manifests in a man needing to have sexual relations with a woman. He puts forward the argument that him and her have as good as had sexual relations in the flea, which by drinking blood from them both implies that in a sense they have already had sex. Thus, it would be a shame not to actually have sexual relations. In Edward Albee's The Zoo Story, Jerry is a very lonely person who almost has no relations with anybody else, whether they are men, women, or animals. He feels a pressing need for contact and relations with another being. His need is such that he goes to such great lengths to have relations that he ends up alienating everybody and becoming even more alone before stabbing himself in the end. Both of these works are very much representative of existentialism, as they deal with a core component of it, the importance of personal relations. This is the end of my presentation, and thank you for listening to me.